Well, liberals still in denial about what hit them just the other day. Let's talk about it with Mark Simone, Hall of Fame WR radio show host Steve Hilton, in from the coast, where they're going to Trump-proof California, Fox News contributor, and the great Tammy Bruce, a real New Yorker and a Fox News contributor. Thank heavens for Tammy Bruce. Author of Fear Itself. You're going to have to bring a book with you.
Thank you.
Mark, they're still in denial. I'm still reading. Liberals do not know what hit them. What hit them? What hit them?
They're in denial. Instead of blaming themselves, looking at what went wrong, they're blaming America. We're racist, we're misogynists, they're just blaming the country. They went through this in '88 after Dukakis's bad loss, and half the party said, well, we didn't go far enough to the left. And then eventually the elders prevailed and took them back to the center. But right now they're still in denial. You know, they're yelling about Tom Homan, how evil, awful. This is what Trump campaigned on. Majority of voters, every poll, they want the border closed. This guy's the best border closer in history. He's exactly who you want. They just don't understand what happened.
Steve Hilton, you're from Trump-proof California. And that, I think, includes deportations and perhaps remain in Mexico and build a wall. So is California going to Trump-proof? Or why doesn't Gavin Newsom, who I knew him years ago on another show on another network that I was hosting for quite some time, he used to come on as a guest. He was the mayor of San Francisco.
Yes, yes.
He was a moderate, are you ready for this? A moderate, pro-business, married to a district attorney or an assistant district attorney. What happened to him? How can you explain this?
Well, he ran for governor, and the only way, as a Democrat, you can make that happen is to pander to the people who really run the Democratic Party in California, the government unions, especially the teacher unions, and the far-left activists. What's hilarious about their reaction in California is if you think about the result last week, in many ways, it was a national rejection of California ideas. That's what people were voting against.
Great
the
point.
Extremism on climate and gender and race, all this stuff on crime. That's what people were voting against. So you'd think in the origin of that, they would wake up and realize, but no, they're doubling down on the exact ideas that were rejected. So what I would say is that what we need in California is not Trump-proofing. We need to Newsom-proof California.
Yes, you need Newsomitis. Tammy Bruce, I'm going to drop this unprofitable line of discussion and move on. The Trump trials are dead. Like a cheap suit, Jack Smith folded, Merrick Garland folded. They had such great cases. Now they're both going to be on the unemployment lines. Here in New York, the judges postponed sentencing. He will never sentence. That's my prediction. I remember when they had 34 counts and 750 years in jail. Whatever happened to that?
Well, the media moved that idea, but this is also akin to, turning on the light in the kitchen and all the bugs I scurry back under the refrigerator. It's like they're having a party when you can't see.
Did you think of that before?
But you can't, when they are covered and they're protected by media, and you can't see what the reality is. It's, the old thing with the Wizard of Oz, right? You pull the curtain back, there's one weird guy there, making noise. But this is just the perfect storm of clarity, of transparency, Elon Musk buying X, conversations being able to be had, newspapers not being censored, Americans talking with each other, the crowds that force the media to cover Trump, the assassination attempts, everything suddenly, the perfect storm, bringing forward the reality and people finding out that they were lied to and that Trump was not who they said he was, bringing forth more. So people looking at these indictments, it's like, why does he have more indictments than Al Capone? Something's not right here. It got us really the spell was broken. It was a spell. And we came very close to going off that cliff. But we didn't, thank God, because there was a light switch and there's the kitchen. And we saw an American, look, we are inherently fair people. I'm a Californian as well. We are people, we're still a young country. We still are rebels inside our hearts and minds. But we also are a little romantic, so we tend to believe people. And now this election was a giant middle finger to the left and to the few that were trying to gaslight us and drown us in the bathtub. We said no, and now we're in charge.
But it just is interesting to me at the height of the trial hysteria, how seriously some people, I mean, there were a bunch of lawyers and a bunch of scholars. Now, there are people on the other side defending Trump. But everybody wrote about it day after day after day. Mr. Trump himself had to go to court and sit through it, although he did make the best of it here in New York. But the point is, the jury was not in New York. The jury was the national vote. The jury was the national vote. And I don't think it ever occurred to these dummy Democrats that that's the way this was going to work. There would be a national jury, and it voted not guilty.
And they didn't realize he's not a convicted felon. None of these things will hold up in court as felonies. Alan Dershowitz, greatest law professor we have, said, I've read this 100 times. I cannot figure out what the crime is. The one about the overvaluing the real estate, that's done in every transaction. The appeals judge even said to her lawyer, the attorney general, has anybody in history ever been charged with this? And he had to admit under oath,
Never.
no, never.
And Steve Hilton, I know you want to jump in on this, but we've said it quite a lot on this show. I've riffed on it quite a lot. The other thing Democrats completely missed, Trump wasn't just appealing to his white working class base. He was expanding that base to include minorities, blacks, African Americans, Hispanics, Latinos, young people, actually a lot of women. The gender gap closed quite a bit. I mean, the Democrats watched this under their very eyes. He just stole, like another 25 or 30% of their party went over into his ranks. That's quite remarkable. They didn't see it coming, and they still don't see it coming.
No, they don't get it, and it's a complete revolution. We talk about realignment. It's a revolution, actually, and it's exactly the people who the Democrats claim to speak for, deserting them in droves. They don't want what they're selling. And I remember the very first time I was on this network soon after Brexit, and I was saying that the Republican Party had the opportunity to become a multiracial working class coalition. That opportunity has been more than delivered by Trump. He has transformed the party, he's transformed politics, and it's on that basic argument of common sense. We don't want all this ideology. We want practical stuff that improves our lives. He delivered it when he was president before. People want it again.
And Tammy, just the last few moments here, give you the last word. The country rejected woke. Pure and simple. The culture of woke, the mandates of woke, including transgenderism, but just in general, it's a big category. They don't want the woke.
Yes, that was like kind of the boiled down sauce of the nature of the left, of the unreality of it, the desire to make you not believe your own eyes and ears. Americans said, we're not ever going to do that. Now the Republicans and Trump, I know, will follow through. This is going to have to be a bullet train into getting this nation back on her feet. Americans are not going to regret what's happened here.
The whole thing.
This was Wokes
exactly right.
Yes.
Huh?
This was Wokes-it.
Wokes-it.
We got out of woke.
Yes.
We got into woke. Wokes-it. Okay.
A glorious day.
Mark Simone, Steve Hilton, thank you ever so much.
you, Larry.
Good crowd.